Hi everyone. So today is going to be pretty quick. Sorry, I'm trying to get my salon on Poshmark. Okay. Today's actually going to be pretty quick because there's not much on Real Housewives of Ultimate Girls Trip. Anyway, so Portia makes a joke at the beginning about Giselle being white. I guess they were in the pool and she was like, "So did you take your shirt off or whatever?" Because that's what white people do. And um and, and hold on. Just when I started recording, somebody wants to call me. Anyway, okay. So and Giselle's like, "I'm Creole." I mean, then it was like, "Oh, well, then you're Creole." But then she's like, "No, my mama's black, my daddy's black." And so there's been some talk and on there's some talk on Twitter about this because why? Because Candace, okay, first of all, I told you that I don't like Real Housewives of Potomac, but Candace made this whole conversation at the last reunion about how Giselle is white presenting, right? And what that actually means. And so Candace got a ton of flack for saying it. And so people are like, "So is Portia gonna get pushed back?" Of course Portia's not gonna get pushed back because people like Portia and they cut her slack in ways that they wouldn't let other people cut. And honestly, this to me is so small. Okay, they did a whole Candace is like, "We should be getting Emmys." And so they did a whole Days of Our Lives. Instead of it being Days of Our Lives, it was Days of Our Wives montage, which was very corny. Whitney's going around telling people to watch out for Heather because she's lying. First of all, the thing, um, and I think that Heather is right. Whitney does need the show. Whitney needs the show terribly. If they have no income, he has no job. So there's that. Um, Portia's planning the day, and it is massages and games. Heather's going around talking about we need to do a spirit house offering. What is a spirit house offering? I guess Miriam did it earlier by having these offerings to the gods or to the spirit of the house, I guess. And the funniest thing is that her offering was alcohol and then 74 proof alcohol. Ma'am, you're an alcoholic. Who buys 74 proof alcohol? Like, I, and in many places, something with that high percent, when they said that, I said, wait, pause. A lot of places, that is banned. So, anyway, so she went and took her alcohol back. I mean, Miriam, I know you may not want, I know being on vacation means that you can drink a lot, but I think that you're taking this I can drink a lot thing to an extreme level, and you're an alcoholic. I hate to be the one to say it this way, but it is not healthy. It is not okay for anybody to be drinking the amount that you're drinking. Um, and to drink all day and to drink that high proof, insane. Anyway, the massages and games that Portia has planned, the massage, Candace is like, am I at a brothel? It's interesting. I mean, they were like people are vocally like maybe I'm just maybe I it's that's it. I don't like to hear anything. Like my when a massage, I hate it when the person's trying to talk to me. Um, I just want it to be as peaceful and quiet as possible because going to sleep is the goal. So the amount of moaning and groaning that these women are doing, and then they're talking about they massage everything, including your vagina. I was like, what massage is this? Anywho, Giselle calls Jen a criminal, and Heather is still calling Jen to have conversations with her. I was like, so, ma'am, what are we doing? I think. She's still in contact with Jen. Stunning. Okay. And knows her like schedule, like, oh, she's asleep right now. Knows like her wake up regime and everything else. I was like, this Heather, ma'am, you're way too good of a friend to her than she is to you. Um, Candace at lunch, they have to cook their own barbecue, and Candace what has a bone to pick with Portia. And so Portia went on, this was years, it was during the pandemic, and they had um this show where people would come on and they would talk about the Housewives, and Candace and and Portia and Giselle was on the show, and this was about the fight between Candace and Monique. And Candace was upset with Portia because she insinuated that going after Monique and especially the lawsuit, she's doing this in order to get some money and for her down payment on her house and stuff. And so she was upset with Portia and felt that Portia owed her an apology. Portia was not going to give her an apology, and they went to arguing, and Giselle was like, and I defended you. She's like, well, that's not. It's fascinating because I understand that Giselle wanted an apology from Portia, but I didn't understand her reasoning for biting at Giselle and not realizing that Giselle did defend her, which she really did defend her tooth and nail. Um, now Portia, you are not a journalist. And Marisol was like, you go and you do an opinion on whatever. That's not investigative journalism. And Portia's like, is that a read? I don't know if being, I don't know if it's a read as much as it's fact. Anywho, okay. Portia, I'm gonna need you to stop calling yourself a journalist because every time you do so, you look like a fool. Moving on. The games were actually pretty good. It seems like people had fun with it. The elephant game, the eating game with the small hands. The truth or dare, taking a bite of a scorpion is like, I would not take a bite of a scorpion under any circumstances. So I really wouldn't care. So Leah actually ate it because she was asked about, she was asked about if there was about, or who would or would not be returning to New York or whatever. She's like, I don't want to be negative, so she took a bite. Whitney took a bite because she didn't want to say the 3 lies that Heather has said. Interestingly enough, at the end of the show, she does say 3 lies, talking about Heather hasn't left the church. Ma'am, Whitney, I'm and in fact, this episode was like, you know what? That is so true. And maybe it's because I don't mind having conversations about the church constantly, but it is so true that Salt Lake City, almost the whole 90% of the show revolves about around the Mormon faith. And so all of them do talk about being Mormon and about the Mormon faith a lot. And so the people on this show, it's like, stop talking about being Mormon. And I was like, touche. And it made me realize, okay, Salt Lake City, y'all are a little boring because the people on the show, the other women are like, look, are we still on this? And Whitney keeps bringing up the Mormon church. And this is the thing, nobody really cares, because if I go to church, if I go to the Baptist church, if I go to church, I can go, like in most people's spaces, they can go to whatever church that they want to go to. And it's not a big deal. You know how I stopped going to church? I just stopped going to church. Like, I don't have to make this official um petition to get off the rolls, and it's not this emotional, like, but none of this. Like, if you watch the last season, it was this emotional thing, and they're going back and forth, the church doesn't want to release you, and people outside the Mormon church don't get it, and frankly don't care. So people are like, are we on this still? And really, this is directed to Whitney, because Heather is not bringing this up by herself. It is Whitney who keeps bringing it up. And I'm going to be frank, Whitney, nobody gives a damn. Okay. So nobody cares if she lies about leaving the Mormon church. Heather ate the scorpion too because she didn't want to say who gave her the black eye. And it's like, oh my God. Is it that big of a deal? If Jen gave you the black eye, who cares? Like, you're not going to prosecute her. So move on. It's funny that the Miami girls, first of all, it's funny that when people are like, oh, the Miami girls, they're like, we do have names. And they're annoyed with each other. They're like, we're tired. We've been on vacation with each other before, but this is a bit much. We're tired of sleeping together, complaining together, like snoring and everything else. I love the Mardi Gras party. Giselle really gives this whole explanation to everyone to educate people about the culture. She teaches them about the dance. I just really, really loved it. The Shady Reasonable game. The one part about this is Miami explained her statement. It's not Marisol, it's the other girl. Explain why she felt that we were the originator. She's like, look, I stand by what I said. We've been here longer than Salt Lake City and Potomac. And yeah, I was like, and she's like, and look, and we're diverse. We had a transgender, we had this, we speak different languages on our show. We bring something unique to Bravo that the rest of y'all don't have. I said, go for it. Speak on it. I don't watch the show, but I'm intrigued. I watched it somewhat. I never got into it when it first came on years ago, when it was actually on TV and not on the app. But when it came back, I never watched on the app. Bullying Candace, this whole thing about this bullying Candace. Portia defends herself and blah, blah, blah. Who cares? The book title, it's like, I don't care about the book title. And it looks like it really feels that Heather is trying to incorporate herself with all the other women. And it's just that Whitney is trying to sabotage that. It seems like Heather's trying to get to know the other people, kind of be quiet for a while, lay back. But Whitney is like, no, let's talk about, like this, trying to make Heather to be out this bad person, without them really getting to know Heather. I think people would really like Heather more than Whitney because Whitney is so contrived. I actually do not. And then Whitney is like, I know that people have said she's the Portia of the show, but she's not because Portia is entertaining. Whitney is an airhead and is very self-centered like Portia, but she's not entertaining. And so it makes, and Heather can be a bit of an airhead, but Heather to me is a bit on the is pretty a very humble, chill woman because you would never guess that this woman is like majorly financially successful with her companies. Whitney is struggling to the nil. And what the thing is, it's even more fascinating about Heather is that what Heather is really trying to say is, I don't need this show. She needs the show. So she's willing to do whatever it takes to stay on the show. I don't need the show. I'm financially secure. You aren't. Anyway, it's funny because Portia and Giselle were talking about how I don't understand how they can they can shade each other about this church thing and sit next to each other and everything's cool. And they're like, I wonder what, I wonder what they're talking about. Girl, they talking about sex. Leah needs sex because she keeps bringing up, she starts the conversation when she's in a private setting, she's constantly talking and bringing up the conversation of sex. And then everyone has to join in, of course. I guess you don't have to, but people do join in. And at the end of the day, Leah, if I know your fear is micro penises, which is odd. At the age that you're at, who cares? If the dude has a micro penis, okay, it's not the end of the world. And that was the show. I told you it wasn't much. I'm gonna watch the what am I gonna do? I'm gonna watch the Groaning Gospel show. I'm gonna be honest, one of the reasons why I'm behind on the Groaning Gospel show, I keep getting behind, is because I have Dish TV and Dish TV has had an outage and um and I've been contemplating on what I'm going to do. So I've been deciding like should I um has been outage and the thing is that I can't, in order to pay, you have to have the account number. So I had to wait for the bill to get mailed to me because I've been on the phone trying to get to Dish and for hours. I've spent I've an hour for 3 days each for 3 days. I spent an hour each day trying to get this resolved. And all of them ended with them hanging up with me because I was on the phone holding for so long. So I'm waiting till I got the bill. I got the bill. And I'm sitting here thinking like, what do I need Dish for? So I'm highly thinking about cutting the cord on cable. So and then maybe, so I haven't made the decision on what I'm going to do yet. And so I haven't talked to them about turning it back on. I may actually end up turning it off. So therefore that means that, and the only show that I don't have access to immediately is grown in gospel. Everything else I have access to immediately. So I haven't figured out w- why I need cable. And so I'm still in this limbo. Anyway, that being said, I'll come today with grown in and gospel sometime later today. Okay. Bye.